And I think birth doulas are incredible. They're incredible birth workers and bring a lot of value to women and couples.
Hi, welcome to PWRMUMS podcast. Today we are joined by Jessie, who is a midwife and a doula for Beloved Bumps. Welcome to the podcast, Jessie.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Would you mind introducing a bit more about yourself and what you do with Beloved Bumps?
Yeah, sure. My name's Jessie. I'm an Australian trained nurse and midwife, and I've been living in Singapore for almost 3 years now. And during that time, I've been working as a birth doula and also a birth educator here at Beloved Bumps. Prior to moving to Singapore, I worked in a big public hospital in Sydney as a midwife, and I worked in all areas of maternity care. But yeah, for the past 2 years, I've been working primarily as a birth doula.
Disclaimer, Jessie was my doula.
Yeah.
So when I come to ask who's your favourite client ever, the answer might be biased.
Yeah. Well, you and you made it very easy, and you absolutely rocked labour. You were amazing.
Just being paid to say.
You're amazing.
So what is a doula?
A doula. So I like to sum up what a doula is by calling them a birth coach.
Yeah.
So there's someone that coaches and really guides a couple through the birthing process. So normally a doula will provide prenatal support. So we'll meet a couple during pregnancy, normally 2 or 3 times. So you really build a rapport with that couple, and the doula will help give the couple access to just additional information if they have any further questions. So then the couple can make informed consent and whatnot. Most doulas have done bodywork courses such as spinning babies, so they have a really good understanding of the pelvis and optimal fetal position, so optimal positions for babies, so they can help guide a woman to do different positions and exercises to prepare for labour and just to encourage their little one to get into a good position.
To spin.
Yep.
Whenever I see spinning babies, I'm like...
Spinning babies, yeah. When I talk to a few people about spinning babies, like, spinning babies? That sounds interesting.
Is that allowed?
I'm going to spin my baby. Spinning babies is amazing, really great resource. So most doulas, they have a really good understanding of all the different positions a woman can do, so she can help guide the woman, so she can encourage her baby into the best position for birth, so labour progresses smoothly.
Nice.
So a lot of it comes down to what position your baby's in.
Yeah.
So we want baby in a good position.
Okay. Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Swimming is good, right?
Swimming's awesome.
Yeah.
I just like chilling out in the pool and floating.
Because you just don't feel so heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, definitely good in this climate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the doula can really guide the couple to encourage their baby into a really good position. And then doulas have lots of tips and tricks up their sleeve. So there's a lot of things that women might have never have thought about that might be helpful during labour.
Okay.
For example, like acupressure, counter pressure, squeezing a comb, which is acupressure.
Which is the best thing
ever.
Yeah,
comb squeezing, it's really, really good. TENS machines, breathing, affirmations and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I remember when I was pregnant, you had there was the ball.
Yeah.
that we sort of deflated and took to the hospital, and the candles.
Yeah.
And the essential oils.
Yeah.
And the TENS machine.
Yeah.
I remember that. And the comb. I remember the comb being the best thing ever. All these things that you just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can help massively.
Definitely.
Like if I'd have known a metal comb could help me through some of the most intense pain I've ever experienced.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of couples might be aware of that and they might have it all there ready to go, but then when it actually comes to it, they don't actually use it.
That's so true.
Yeah, so the doula can be the one who's okay, let's get the candles, let's get the music, let's set the scene, let's make sure everything's nice and chilled. And then obviously through labour, helping them work through all those things. So doulas normally have a big bag of tricks and they just slowly work through each thing. Because often couples, they don't know, like, when should I do this, when should I do that? So if you've got someone there guiding you, you don't pull out the big guns too early.
Put those scented candles away.
Not ready
too
for the
soon.
So the doula can really guide them with that.
Yeah.
And I think offering the couple with a lot of reassurance, particularly the partner, because it can be really challenging watching your best friend labour. particularly if you've never seen a woman labour before, and when she reaches transition and things really intensify, it can be really hard for a partner, particularly a male. I think men, they want to fix things. I know my husband just wants to fix things. So when they see their partner in pain, they want to fix it. So they feel so helpless and just don't know what to do. So just having a doula present to help guide the partner and also reassure them that this is normal, like everything she's doing, the noises she's making, everything's normal. And dads, you know, often say after, it was just so great having someone there to give me that reassurance. After the baby's born, obviously with breastfeeding support, most doulas are very experienced with breastfeeding, so they can offer breastfeeding support. And also just having someone to debrief with about the birth. I think debriefing is really important. And then doulas normally are really connected to their community, so they're able to offer or recommend other services to the woman if needed. For example, if she needed a lactation consultant or things like that.
Do you think as well, with your midwifery background, I know as a doula you're there for the parents, you're not there to provide any medical input, but I guess you know from your experience when someone is in early labour, when they're in transition, so that can be really helpful because you don't have to be a midwife to be a doula.
No.
I could become a doula if I did the adequate training, but I wouldn't have the experience that you have of knowing different stages of labour. So that's another, I guess, benefit of having a midwife who's become a doula. Is your experience.
Definitely having that midwifery experience, I think. I guess, like I'm quite knowledgeable when it comes to birth. I'm still learning new things every day, and to be honest, since becoming a doula, I've learnt so much about birth, and I've learnt that from other doulas. So there are doulas, even though they're not midwives, I feel like their knowledge base is just as good, if not more. I think midwifery, you know, I have that experience of working in a hospital, so I think all those medical interventions I'm very familiar with, when they're necessary, when they're not necessary. But obviously as a doula, that's not my role. But I can definitely provide couples with additional information so they can make an informed consent and the right choice for them.
And I guess you're looking, it's just a different perspective. You're used to looking as a midwife this way. And as a doula, you're looking down the other way. But as all your skills together. I must say when I first couple I supported as a doula, I found quite challenging, because when you're working as a midwife in a big public hospital, you're so busy. You've got so many boxes to tick, so much documentation, a lot of responsibility. You're often understaffed, so you're taking care of multiple women. And then you come as a doula and you're just present almost. And often you don't do a lot because, you know, normally dads are really hands-on, which I love. So there's not a lot you can do. So you've got to be comfortable just being present. And that's another reason I like to get to know the couple, because I think the more I know them, the more comfortable I feel, and the more comfortable they feel as well. Because it's a very intimate time. So you really want to know your doula. I heard a lot of doulas knit. Is that true?
Yeah, a lot of doulas and midwives as well. More so in, you know, birth centres and home birth environments. But in public hospitals, you know, there's just so much going on.
No time.
There's no time. You're communicating with other staff members and, you know, shift changes. There's a lot going on. So when I started working as a doula at first, I was like, what am I going to do? But then I realised that I just need to be present. And then I actually really enjoyed just being with a couple. And then you can also get caught up in the emotion as well. It's really amazing, you know, watching the mum's face, watching the dad's face when they see their baby for the first time.
And capturing those moments.
I got a great picture of you. It's an awesome picture.
A bewildered face after I'd given birth. In Singapore, why might an Australian or a Brit or any kind of foreigner in Singapore, why would they want to engage your services?
I think for a lot of expat couples, they come to Singapore and it's all a little bit overwhelming. You know, I think being pregnant, there's so much unknown, and then you come to a country where the health system is slightly different to what it might be from where you're from. So I think it can be quite overwhelming for a couple, and they just want someone to help them navigate that. And I think, being in the hospital environment too, it can be quite overwhelming, and it's nice to have that that third person there to offer guidance and reassurance to the couple. And I think for a lot of couples, there's women that would really ideally like to have a natural birth.
Yeah.
And I think a midwife can act as a bit of an epidural.
Yeah.
They can really help the woman to manage the intensity of labour without the need for medicated pain relief, and give her access to all the different comfort measures and whatnot, and also really help the partner to better support his labouring partner.
Yeah, and fab. And then you also mentioned you tend to go to people's houses to support them in early stages of labour. And so why could that help somebody?
Yeah, so if a woman's low risk and she's hoping to kind of give birth naturally with minimal intervention, we always encourage that a woman stays home until she's well and truly in active labour, if she's low risk and if her doctor's happy for her to do so, because we know that women often, particularly first-time mums, they do tend to go to the hospital a little bit too early, and once you enter the hospital, the clock generally starts. And the longer you're in hospital, the more likely you are to end up with, an epidural. If we add bright lights, foreign, like people we don't know, in an environment that we're not familiar with, it can completely counteract the normal physiology of labour.
Yeah.
So that's why we do encourage women to stay home.
And do you find then that when women have had a doula, and say they've had a doula and it's helped them to stay at home longer, other people that engage you tend to be people that have a birth plan that's very, very pro-natural? Do you get a mixture of people that say, I'm very happy to go to hospital and have an epidural, but I still want my doula there to be my birth coach?
To be honest, a mixture, which initially when I started working as a doula, I would have expected that if a woman who's employing a doula, they probably want to try without an epidural. But I've had many of clients who have actually, pre-decided that they want to have an epidural. Yeah. And they're quite happy to have medical intervention. You do get a mix. You do get a mix.
Yeah. And what about women that are going to be, say that we've done a podcast before about breech pregnancy, so they know then they're going to be having a cesarean. Can you doula through a cesarean?
I think so. We always we can offer to support them in the operating theatre. However, normally it's only one person is allowed, so the partner normally goes in.
Yeah.
But we always offer that because sometimes, the partner might not want to go into theatre. He might feel like he might not be great support.
Yeah.
So if you did end up having a cesarean section, there's always an option for a doula to support you through that. But normally we just more so focus on after baby's been born, and offer a lot of support there.
Yeah. And what about women who have had, I'm just so curious.
Yeah.
It's a curious word, and it's also a curious job. So say if somebody has already had a baby, how many of your clients would be first time mums versus say second time mums? Because I kind of think first time mum, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So maybe they wouldn't know that they need a doula.
Yeah.
Whereas second time around, they're like, I need a doula.
Yeah. No, I reckon there's a lot of firsts. For me, I've only been a doula for a few years now, but I'm now getting the women that I supported when I first became a doula coming back and having their second and wanting, to have my support again, which is really lovely. But I think there's a lot of women who don't have a doula first time because ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
And they maybe don't have a great experience first time around, so then second time around they are aware of the importance of their team, so they engage with a doula. There's a mix, but there are a lot of women that do seek doula support second time around that didn't have one first time around.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what about as a midwife? Has your perception, you're a midwife and a doula and a nurse.
Yeah.
And a mum.
Yeah.
As a midwife
and
who became, and a wife, and a woman.
Yeah.
As a midwife who became a doula, has your perception changed? Is there a good working relationship, generally speaking, between midwives and doulas? Yeah,
so in Australia where I worked, doulas aren't as common. And to be honest, I worked in a big public hospital and I'd actually only had come across one doula in the time that I worked there. And I think what the difference is in Australia and where I worked, we have midwifery-led care. So there's an option for you to have a midwife care for you throughout your whole pregnancy, and you can have the same midwife. So they provide all your prenatal care, they're on call for you, they come in, they support you during labour and birth, and then they also visit you at home in the days and weeks following. So you get that continuity of care. So I think doula support where I used to work was less common.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have much experience with doulas as a midwife. But when I came to Singapore and learnt about doulas, and they're very common here because we don't really have midwifery-led care in Singapore, my understanding of doula completely shifted, and my appreciation for doulas and the importance of birth doulas really grew. And I think birth doulas are incredible. They're incredible birth workers and bring a lot of value to women and couples.
Absolutely, I can confirm.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could be going, well, you would be going in to the hospital room with your birth partner.
Yeah.
And the nurses looking after you, who are wonderful but have never met you before.
Yeah, you don't know them, they don't know you.
And the doctor generally, as long as you're uncomplicated delivery, would come in for just the final stages. Yeah. So that familiar face, you're not really wanting to chit chat with them at that stage anyway.
No.
So it is all very, very unfamiliar. So actually having that person that you've met with and that you've built that relationship and that trust with is very, very, very important.
Yeah,
I think.
It's really, really important. And there's so much research that supports that women who have continuity of care, whether that be from a midwife or a doula, have far better birthing outcomes and far better experiences.
Yeah.
So the research supports it.
Yeah.
So I think continuity of care is really the gold standard.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess as well, birth plans change.
Yeah.
Like my plan was to get in the water as soon as I got to the hospital, and when you asked me if I wanted to, that was the last thing I wanted to do suddenly. And I guess sometimes people could be quite disappointed with the outcome and the change, whereas actually then a doula is kind of able to coach you through the twists and turns of labour, so you're better ready to deal with the fact that things might not go quite how you wanted them to go.
Definitely. Yeah, no, a doula will definitely help guide you through those twists and turns, because labour can be unpredictable. It doesn't normally go exactly how you envisaged. So you've got to somewhat, keep open-minded, have an end goal, and put all the things in place and prepare. But there are lots of twists and turns, and a doula can definitely help you navigate. And even if a woman didn't have, like her birth turned out completely different to what she anticipated, if she's had a doula there supporting her through that process, she's much more likely to at the end of it feel like, okay, it wasn't what I expected it to be, but it was still a positive experience, which is, along with a healthy mum and a healthy baby, we want positive experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And how does it work? So you are on call, but you can't be at someone's beck and call. For example, if you got sick and then you were called in, how does it work? How does the backup system work?
When you work as a doula, you've got to make sure you've got some other doulas to help
doula
you
friends.
out. Yeah, doula friends. And luckily here at Beloved Bumps, there's been a few of us that have been able to back each other up. But you need to have someone there just in case you did fall ill or whatnot. But I haven't had any issue. I haven't, touch wood, not been able to attend a woman's birth because I was unwell or my kids were unwell. But being on call does keep you on edge. It's not easy.
No. Did you used to be on call when you were a midwife?
No, so I worked shift work. So no, which is easier to plan your life. So the on call was new to me. But
bit of adrenaline's good for the
and it was always nice, like if I knew a woman was starting to labour, I'd go to bed and I would be excited. And when you support a woman as a doula, you really get to know the woman and you're excited for her and you want to be present at her birth. So you look forward to that phone call.
I bet. I'll never forget the words, "I'm so stoked you get to give birth." That's what Jessie said to me. I was like, "You're quite mad. I am not stoked that I get to give birth."
Yeah, I remember telling you.
Just that your enthusiasm was kind of infectious. It did make me, once I kind of was like, I was very like, "Oh yeah, this is cool." And I'll probably do it again. Definitely birth. Whilst there's a lot of unknown, particularly when you have your first baby, it's such an incredible experience. And if you have a good support team,
then you can have an amazing, empowering experience. So I'm getting ready to have my third baby, and I'm like, I can't wait to give birth again.
I'm stoked for you.
Can't wait. I'm pumped.
So then who will doula the doula?
Who will doula the doula? So I'm actually hoping to go back to Australia to give birth, and I'll actually have one of my really good friends be my midwife.
Wow.
So I feel like my need for a doula is less. I guess essentially she will be my doula, and she's going to be there throughout the whole process with me. But if I wasn't to, I've got a few doulas
up your sleeve,
up my sleeve, because there are some incredible doulas here in Singapore that have a huge wealth of knowledge and so much experience. So I know I would be in very good hands if I was to give birth here.
So both of you had 2 boys back in Australia.
Yep.
And now you're pregnant with number 3.
Yep.
And you work, and you have a job that's not 9 to 5. How do you balance that? And were there any considerations that you had to take into account when thinking, I want number 3?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here in Singapore, we're very fortunate that we're able to have some help. So we've got a lovely helper who lives with us and offers a lot of support. So I feel I wouldn't be able to do doulaing if we didn't have our lovely helper. Because being on call and having young children, that's really challenging. So having help makes it possible. My husband's really supportive. He's really great. He does travel for work too, which means is another reason I needed a bit of help in order to be able to do the on-call stuff. So I can go off and have another baby and come back to work when I feel ready. And I think being a midwife and a doula and a nurse, there's always room for study as well. So if I wasn't quite ready to come back into a job, I could potentially study. There's always things.
Yes, that's what I think. As a mum of 3, I'm going to go back and study. Always trying to.
Might be for a while.
And what's really lovely, I think, is you mentioned your helper. And I think quite often we're so grateful to our helpers because they help take care of our kids. But actually, in your case, your helper takes care of your kids, which allows you to help other people. So there's a real cascade of effect on that. So I think that's really beautiful as well.
No, so fortunate for that moment.
Oh, thank you so much. Everything that you've talked about is very, very inspiring, and hopefully will just increase the awareness and the knowledge about what doulas are.
And we know, like obviously Tash is working as a doula, and we know some amazing doulas in Singapore. So if there is anyone searching for a doula, get in touch and we can definitely connect you with some incredible doulas in Singapore.
And the ones that I know personally, you're all power mums. You're all amazing. I'm honoured that you joined us on this podcast.
Thank you for having
me. So much.
It's a privilege.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Bye.